Hey everybody, it's Eric, and in this video I'm going to describe the political spectrum, left and right, and why I feel that's pretty much a very obsolete and ineffective way to categorize political opinions and views and stuff like that, that leads to a oversimplification of understanding. So basically, over the last few minutes, just sitting down on my computer this morning, two sort of questions came up which are related to the political spectrum of left and right, and basically it led me to really want to make this video about this because this is something that's been at the core of my ideas about politics pretty much since I dropped out of political science. My dropped out of my degree of political science after studying it for 1 year because I felt that the whole left and right dichotomy of politics was just a bunch of horseshit, basically. And it really did not enrich my life in any way, in a way that allowed me to understand the world that was around me. Because, well, you have this left and right political spectrum, which can very easily be abused by people who want to manipulate other people. So, the first example of this question as it's coming up came on Facebook. One of my friends posted, "Why is it that the right wing seems to be the only faction concerned about our rights, about our citizens, concerned about our rights as citizens? The brutal control freak fascistic response to the lockdown and curfew accompanied by their unscientific justifications." So this is basically somebody who I would categorize as more traditionally left-wing egalitarian, coming out and saying, why are right-wing people the ones that have stood up against the sort of lockdown measures, which me personally, I consider human rights abuses, actually. And I agree with this guy. And why are right-wing people standing up against it? Because you have this constant moving of the goalpost of what is right and what is left, and a constant redefinition of what liberty means, what sort of role government plays in citizens' lives. And it's very interesting to see over the last 10, 15 years is how this is sort of like flipped from right wing calling for freedom and less regulation, less policing of society, and left wing calling for more. Whereas when I was growing up, as a teenager, for example, there was like the example of artists that were provocative, like Marilyn Manson. It was the right wing people who were trying to get the concerts banned, trying to get them shut down for the religious sort of perspective to prevail, and conservatism in terms of modesty in the sorts of ideas that you're presenting to the young people. That was what was preserved. Now it's the left wing who are policing ideas more, trying to get ideas suppressed, and it's the right wing that's saying, no, we need to have freedom of expression. So it's really strange how the last 15 years this has flipped, and it really shows how movable the goalposts are for ideology, and how nothing is static on the political spectrum. So right wing is the new punk rock, which is anti-establishment, and the establishment is very left wing. Whereas, yeah, before it was different. Before it was right wing conservatism, collectivism, dominating the masses of people. So I would say a much better way to look at the political thought in society is the thought of any individual or group individualistic or collective? So let me explain this a little more. Individualism is about the rights of the individual to believe and do what they want, and that being paramount over the society and one of the cherished values of the society. And collectivism is where that the society itself as a whole is more important than the individual. And if you look at history, it goes between the two. You'll go through periods of more individualistic stuff and collectivistic stuff. And the sort of system that I follow, which best explains this, is spiral dynamics, which I've talked on this channel a lot about before. And it goes from, back and forth between collectivistic and individualist stages. So purple would be a collectivist stage, red is individualist, blue is collectivist, orange is individualist, green is collectivist, and yellow is individualist. So right now, these three, 4, 5, and 6, blue, orange, and green, are the ones that are at play in North American society and European society. These are the three that are looking for chunks of the narrative and looking to get you on board with them. So the traditional right wing that wanted to suppress the way people express themselves was a collectivistic, nationalistic, traditional right wing, which was blue. This is the stage that gave us religion. This is the stage that gave us Soviet communism. And it's essentially the stage that basically says, you need to believe this and sacrifice your individuality to be a part of a collective where everybody has these beliefs so that we can function as a society. And so when I'm talking about the 90s and censorship of artists like Marilyn Manson and Outrage and all of the whole abortion debate, which is constantly a thing in America, more recently a thing in Poland, this is the sort of collectivist narrative of nationalism, religiousness, morality, and rules that you are going to, without necessarily understanding them, you follow them because somebody in a robe or a politician in a business suit told you this is the way things are going to be. So that's what we had before. That's wherever you see traditionalist right-wing sort of like collectivist thing. This is the stage that goes to war, where you rally an army based on the glory of the nation, and thus you need to be willing to go and kill people from other nations or other religious affiliations. You need to be able to go off to war and kill them for the glory of your nation. That's pure collectivistic, what I consider nonsense, that anybody who thinks through the issue as an individual, so I'm more individualist than collectivist. Anybody who thinks through this as an individual would think this is absolutely absurd that I as an individual are being drafted into this army so I can go to other countries and kill other individuals just because they subscribe to a different collectivistic ideology. Right. So basically, it's a horrible idea if you look at it from an individualistic perspective, but it's a really good idea when you look at societies and how ultimately one ideology is going to succeed over another ideology to indoctrinate the collective, the masses, and you need people to sign up for that ideology and fight and die for it. So how does the flip actually occur? How does the flip actually occur where now it's the left wing that are the collectivists, the left wing that are asking you to sacrifice your personal freedoms? How does that occur? Well, this is a stage of evolution. So people who are in the blue stage, following religions, going to war, dying for their country, sacrificing their individuality, will eventually evolve to something called orange, which is more the individualist stage. After that, as I said, it oscillates between collectivist, individualist, collectivist, so on and so forth. So they will eventually evolve. So the left wing in the previous era was much more about individual rights, how you should have a society that kind of gives everybody a bit of stuff. So previously, the blue was the right wing, and the left wing was more orange. So the left wing was more like, we need to give everybody more stuff, and the blue was like, no, we need to actually just make a society where, I mean, it's always like mixed. It's always like mixed, which stages people are at. So I would say that right now the Republicans in the USA are between blue and orange, a mix of the two, and the Democrats and people left of that are between orange and green on this stage. So basically, what's happening now? Green consciousness, collectivist, green, egalitarian consciousness is becoming more popular in America. So therefore, they have a collectivist narrative, which is you need to lock down so that we can save as many lives as possible, and so that we can, you know, have as many people succeed in this society as possible. And we need to sacrifice your individuality, your individual wealth, and all that stuff is going to be sacrificed so that more people can achieve equality, achieve good circumstances in life. And this is the narrative. And therefore, since green is occupying that one, now the right wing evolves. Since the left wing has evolved more into green, the right wing evolves more into orange, which is individualist stuff, which is like, all right, so I want to express myself like this. I want to just go and not lock down. I shouldn't have to wear a mask. I shouldn't have to. Who cares about this virus? If I'm strong, I'll survive. The weak can die, and basically like whatever the thought is that leads to that. So now the green is the one that's censoring thought. The left wing is the one that's telling you how to think, what you should believe, what you're not allowed to believe, and offering that sort of level of dogma. While at the same time, the right wing becomes more like individualistic, less moralistic, more about the reality of people being able to determine their own life and make their own choices to achieve their own destiny or to achieve their own outcome. Destiny is one of those words which is kind of like in the era in the realm of dogma, but I like it. Anyways, green. What does green do? It essentially makes a war for social justice. You see, you still haven't gotten to the stage where they can embrace contradictory opinions to the level that the second tier, stage yellow and turquoise, can, and view, you know, life as a system that includes everybody. So it's still very much oppositional. It's us versus them, this green narrative. It's like these people have it wrong and we're right. We need to destroy the other side. And so this is what you see with the deplatforming of big tech companies, the people they want to censor, is like, no, we can't allow people to spread these lower, you know, nationalist narratives, these individualist narratives that are harming our collective efforts to raise people, raise everybody up. You know, if everybody was on board with fighting the coronavirus, this thing would, you know, disappear much quicker. So we need to censor anything that goes against our narrative of what needs to be done. You see how they're thinking. It's the same way that the religious people think. When, you know, except for like it becomes a milder form of you know, they don't think anymore that the people who oppose them need to be executed. They think they need to be deplatformed. So it's less brutal as you go up the spiral, you know, because there's more security that comes as you go up the spiral. As you go from blue to orange to green, you're achieving material wealth more. You're achieving a more stable society. You're achieving a more nuanced perspective. So green is more like let's discuss and debate the feelings that are here. Let's discuss and debate the sort of nuances of why we need to accept other ideas in our society and stuff like that. At the same time, they know which ideas are directly threatening to them, and that's the stage directly below them. Orange individualist narratives. Green is the reaction to that. Just like orange individualist narrative people know exactly what's threatening to their scientific sort of like results-based, success-oriented ideology. It's the religious sort of dogmatic viewpoint of blue. So every stage looks to the one previous to it as like this is what we're coming out of, and this is what we sort of need to suppress. So how did we get here, where the right wing is here and the left wing is here? Well, it's just evolution. And I would really like to see the next stage, which is yellow, which is where I kind of live on the spiral. You know, I've got a smattering of blue, orange, green, and yellow in the way that I live my life, and I have no problem embodying red and you know, embodying visceral power and impact. I have no problem, and that's when you get to this stage, you're kind of like becoming a chameleon of all the other stages. Whereas these people tend to like live on the edge of this. Like the green people will recede into orange when they get threatened, and the orange people will recede into blue when they get threatened. And so it's a very interesting thing, the interplay between the stages, and it's very confusing. And you need to study a lot of spiral dynamics examples before you understand how the stages interact with each other. Which is the unfortunate thing about trying to teach people this, is that there's lots of nuances here. And stage yellow is what you need to embody to understand those nuances, because let's face it, like the stages below here are much less nuanced, and they go much less nuanced as you regress to the stages. So green will regress into orange, and yeah, I mean, like purple is not nuanced at all. You're just in a tribe of people. You are fighting against other tribes. You believe the folk ways and you believe in whatever evil spirits. Red is really not nuanced. It's just like who has the power, might is right. Blue is not really nuanced because, well, it's more nuanced than red because you're actually accepting the ideas of other people. You're accepting that there are different civilizations that exist and that yours is the one that you're following. But orange is where you start to see real nuance and sort of individualist ideas of, well, I want to live my life as an individual, therefore, like we need a stable society so I can do that. That's nuanced. And we need to accept other people who have different individual beliefs about the world to exist in a society with me. And then green takes that a little bit further because like orange kind of like runs the well dry in a sense that, let's say, everybody being super individualistic and following their success and trying to amass wealth leads to a lot of disadvantageous circumstances in the society. And that's why you get green. That's why you get green. That's why once you have a society that has a lot of success and lots of capitalist sort of conveniences, and people have followed that materialist sort of let's get more money, more wealth, more material success, more this, more that. It's very superficial and people just aren't happy. And so you go into this next one, which is green. And it's like, let's care about the environment. Let's care about our feelings. Let's care about the feelings of other people. Let's care about the actions of other people in regards to the environment and all that stuff. And this sort of awareness is new. And so it becomes like that's the left wing thing now, which is, yeah, it's collectivistic. So they don't care about individual rights um, as much as Orange did. And yeah, so the conservatives these days are like, I want my individual rights. And the green is like, yeah, but no. We need to design a society that's going to bring everybody up and not just, it's not all about you, buddy. So where do we go from here, folks? I hope to yellow, but we have to go green first. All right, so the second one here, got this email from this guy, basically, which said, do you believe that the website, the Serbian news website, Danas rs, today.serbia, would be, what did he say? Progressive lefty, conservative right wing, or centered? I don't really care. So because I guess I've sort of become so used to Serbian society resonating so much on the blue level of collectivism, dogmatism, and you have organizations that are very capitalistic and are orange in their ethos, but they will use the collectivist sort of narrative to manipulate people in Serbia to achieve profits. And I'm pretty sure that this would be no different than that. You need to make news that gets people to click, and that's how you make a newspaper. And it wouldn't be left wing nor right wing from my perspective, but just collectivist with a very sort of good slant towards the collectivist traditional conservative way of looking at society. So it doesn't really matter where Serbian newspapers are on the political spectrum. I would say that it would just be a lot more collectivistic than I like to look at things as a individualistic, integral thinker. So yeah, those are the two examples that came up this morning about that. So I would say that you promote the idea of rejecting left and right wing because over history, you can see that both of them end up in authoritarianism. And that's because of collectivism. And on top of any collectivist authoritarianist system is somebody who's individualist and is using their knowledge as an individualist to manipulate a previous stage of collectivism. So when you look at corrupt regimes, you can often, it doesn't have to be a previous stage. It can be like stage red manipulating stage blue. It can be stage orange manipulating stage blue. But it's always people who are individualistic, who are out for their own thing, are often manipulating these collective mobs of people who are following collective mob ideologies of us versus them. So I would say you need to be very careful anytime somebody asks you to join an army, to join a cause and all that stuff, because they're trying to get you to join based on a feeling basis, to abdicate your own rational sort of entertainment of the ideas that are driving the collective, and to sort of like pledge your allegiance to something, whether it's the green social justice mobs or the blue nationalist dogmatic religious mobs. You're joining something and you're giving up your, to a certain extent, your facility as an individual to discern what's really driving this mob and what's really who's it benefiting, this mob, who is benefiting. So I'm much more for integral thinking than orange capitalist thinking, but orange capitalist thinking is what got us to where we are in this society. And wherever you're resonating on the spectrum, on the spiral, it's important to understand that you're your own individual and there are collectives out there that need to be led, because you as an individual, if you achieve any sort of power, I mean, there are people who want to be led. They want to be led as a collective. They want to be led as a society. And if you want to be a leader in this society, you do need to harness these themes. So at the same time, I say, watch out for the people who are trying to lead you, make you join a cause. But also, if you want to be a leader, you need to use this. You need to use this to motivate people. You need to understand how collectivists think so that you can motivate them, engage them, get them to build something which you're at the top of, which will benefit you and them. That's what an enlightened leader does, is they will try to make a system that will benefit not just them, but the people who are following them, and that you're not exploiting people, that everybody's got a good vibe at the end of the day, and it's a win-win-win situation for everybody based compared to what they were previously involved in. So if you're going to make a cult, like make sure that like you're bettering people. If you're going to make a culture, if you're going to make a civilization, make sure that you're bettering people as a leader. Because the people, we don't lack people to be led. We lack leaders to lead them. That's one quote from a personal development seminar I went to once, and it always just resonates. It's a good line. So there you go. That's why you should not listen to left or right. You should listen to collectivism versus individualism. You should listen to yourself, your own reason, and you should realize that not everybody's going to be as reasonable as you, and they will follow emotions and join mobs of people. And this is a very dangerous road, but it's built into humanity. And if you do want to be a leader in humanity, know how to motivate the mob. I'll catch you guys later. Thanks a lot.